Alright, so welcome back. Today we're going to be taking a look at how to do some basic isometric drawing. This is a kind of a precursor to doing linear perspective, in which instead of having the lines go out to a vanishing point, we're going to be thinking about lines being parallel to each other. Both linear perspective and isometric drawing are really good at helping us to be able to create a sense of three-dimensionality on a flat piece of paper. In order to help us out today, I'm going to be using this block here in order to help create our first drawing using isometric techniques, and I'm also using some isometric dot paper. A simple Google search will allow you to find the dot paper online and easily print out your own worksheet if you need to. Okay? So the difference between grid paper and isometric drawing paper is that the dots are offset, right? So instead of creating squares, essentially this type of paper is going to create a triangle when we join the dots together, right? And it's because of this offset nature of the dots that we're able to help create that sense of three-dimensionality, and this is going to help with creating the overall sense of form. Okay, so to begin with, right, what we need to remember is that our lines need to be parallel to each other, and we're going to be thinking of vertical lines that are going diagonally to the left, and lines that are going diagonally to the right. And if we keep thinking about how our lines relate to those three directions, we're going to be able to put this together fairly straightforward. So when doing our isometric drawing, we're going to start with a vertical line right through here, right? And I'm going to choose a spot on my paper, and I'm going to select a dot, and I'm going to come up the equivalent of two other dots here. So I'm going to draw that line in, and I'm using my ruler in order to help me out here. From here, I want to establish the two lines that are receding in this direction, top and bottom. Right? And using a pattern of coordinates and moving around in the dot system, I'm going to be able to create that fairly easily. Right? So the angle is pretty steep. Okay? So I'm going to come over and kind of go up one, and I'm going to go up two here. And I'm going to circle this dot, and if I go over and then up two again, and then over one, up two again, right, I'm going to get three circled dots, and if I've done my counting correctly, I should be able to line up my ruler with the bottom of my vertical line, and all three of those dots should line up. And I'm going to do the same thing from here. I'm going to go over one, and then up two. Over one, up two, over one, up two. And again, if I've done this correctly, if I place my pencil on the top of my vertical line, line up those three dots, they should all fall on the ruler. And as well, I can double check this because when I come back to do this back edge, the lines are also lining up. Okay, so I drew a little bit out past the dot, which is fine. I'm just going to come in and I'm going to erase it. So now I have four lines. I've got my front edge, right? I'm not going to worry about this cutout quite yet. I've got my bottom line, I've got my top line, and I've got my back line here. So the next set of lines that I need to draw are the lines for the back edge and the opposite side, right? And these ones are going off on a diagonal towards the left-hand side. But you'll notice that the angle is slightly different, right? It's not quite as sharp. So what I'm going to do for this one is I'm actually going to come over one, two, and then up one. I'm going to circle this one, over two, one, two, up, one, two, up, one, two, up. Right? I'm actually going to go over one more. I'm going to make this side a little bit longer because this is a longer edge on my block. Right? So with this particular drawing, I'm not trying to draw it exactly to scale, but I'm using the shape in order to kind of create that overall sense of form. And here we go again. I'm going to start counting out 1, 2, up, 1, 2, up, 1, 2, up, 1, 2, up, 1, 2, up. Right? And if I've done this correctly, that last point should be directly above the bottom one. And if I connect my two dots, the top of that back edge and the front edge here, right? That line goes through all of those dots that I had just made, right? So now we have two faces of our block, right? The front one and this side one, as well as the top. But we need to finish the top off, right? This line here needs to be parallel to the line that I'm going to draw over here, right? This line and this line are parallel, right? So I'm going to use this same counting strategy of 1, 2, up from this point here. 1, 2, up, 1, 2, up, 1, 2, up, 1, 2, up, 1, 2, up. Okay? And I'm not entirely sure how far I need to go with this one, so I'm going to, I think it was 4 that I counted, so I'm going to just extend that line a little bit. You'll notice it comes past that last dot that I drew, which is perfectly fine. Right? So again, we have now 3 parallel lines, 1, 2, 3, and we need to get 3 parallel lines in order to define that back edge, right? 1, 2, and then somewhere back here. So I need to use the same counting strategy that I used here, 1, and then up 2. And I'm going to come from this point, over 1, up 2, over 1, up 2, over 1, up 2, right? And it looks like I landed in the right spot because those two coordinates landed right on top of each other. I'm going to erase the line that I don't need. Okay, so now I have the overall basic structure of this shape. Okay, now I'm going to do a little bit of work in trying to figure out how to create the cutout. There's one, it's kind of hard to see in the video on the back here, but there's this one on the front is very, very clear. Okay. So to do this, I'm gonna need some parallel lines. Okay, so I'm going to use the dot here in order to kind of establish where the top. I'm going to use this dot here and this one in order to define the edge, okay? So what I need to make sure that is happening now is that these 4 lines are all parallel. If one of them is angled slightly, it's going to break the illusion that this is a 3-dimensional object, okay? So from here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create the indentation, right? This recess here. And again, I need to make sure that my lines are vertical. So I'm going to draw a line here. And this one is a little bit smaller. So I'm using the dots to kind of get my basic measurements. Right? Once I have these in place, I'm going to start erasing some of these lines, right? Because there isn't a line that goes all the way through. Here and here. Right? And this part is the cutout. So I need to erase in here as well. Right? This is also cut out, so I'm going to erase that part of the line also. Right? So now that this face is done, I'm going to actually come in, I'm going to reinforce this line. I'm going to press a little bit harder with my pencil just to draw in and bold those lines that I am very, very sure of in terms of their positioning. Right? Hopefully makes it a little easier for you to see at home as well. Right, so the only time that I'm pressing really hard with my pencil is when I'm sure I have the line in the right spot, okay? Because otherwise it becomes incredibly difficult in order to, erase, right? We want to make sure that we're able to fix any mistakes that we might inadvertently be making. Okay, so now this is going to be a little bit tricky, right? Because now this isn't sitting on one of the dots. So I need to find a way of kind of figuring out where this is going to go, right? So what I do know right here is that this dot is basically like the same level as the one dot above, and it's right in the middle. So over on this edge here, at this point, right? Again, I know that the line that joins from here up to here is going to need to be at that level, right? And that allows me to find a dot here. I'm going to draw that line in. Okay, again, I'm drawing that one lightly, and now I'm going to be drawing the next one down. It's pretty much the same here, right? It's kind of like right on that, right in the middle here. So if I come from my point and I come down one set of dots or one row, right, it comes in, and again, I'm going to draw this one in fairly lightly, right, and join up those two lines. Okay. Now what I'm needing to do here, right, is to get, let me see if I can get my pencil in here, right, this line in. And in my drawing, that means that there's going to be a drawing that kind of comes out that way, or a line that comes out in that general direction. Okay? And in order to be able to find that, that overall sense of length, again, I don't have an official dot here, but from what I can see, right, if I'm going to use parallel lines, it needs to go up to the next dot. So it comes over one and then up one. So over one and up one, and this is going to give me my line for there. Now, this isn't going to be a perfect representation of what I'm seeing because I need to be able to also kind of fix this up a little bit, and I'm just using my knowledge of the box here in order to fix this up. So this is going to be the part that you can't see, right? This line here, okay, has a parallel over here, and then there's also the recess up, and that's going to come in here again. So using the parallel, or the dots, I'm going to use that, and again, start erasing the lines and the markings that we don't need. Right, so by adding these, using the dot paper, it gives us a better sense, an easier sense of the direction that each of the lines needs to go, how far it needs to go, and most importantly, helps us with getting that sense of dimension through the use of parallel lines. And so I'm just going to take a second and I'm going to reinforce the lines that I know that I'm going to need. Okay, and then when I'm doing this, I do all of the lines that are in one direction at once, right? So you saw that I'm just kind of sliding my ruler up, okay? And just coming in now, I'm going to reinforce some of these vertical lines where I need them here, okay? And now I can reinforce the top because there's nothing that's happening up here as well, right? This is pretty straightforward. There we go, okay? So the last little detail that I'm missing, I don't know if you've noticed it yet, is right in here, right? Even though it's hard, we can't really see it in the video, but there's a ledge here that also recedes off in the same direction, right? And because we're using this dot paper, it becomes really easy to kind of figure out what that sort of magic formula is again, and it's following the same pattern that we did down here. So what we're going to do is just kind of have this come up. I'm going to use this as a guide here, so I notice that it comes over one and then just up really slightly. Just like so, right? And so just like that, we now have a fairly good representation of what this block actually kind of looks like, right? So we can see the edge here, there's the two cutouts, and we have the two cutouts on either side, right? And when I'm rotating this around, right, we can kind of see how everything works together, right? So isometric drawing, right? We have grid paper that we're able to use in order to, or sorry, dot paper that we're able to use to help us maintain parallel lines, and also to kind of help us get that sense of distance. Give this a try, and then eventually what I would like to see you being able to do is to create these isometric forms freehand, just using your own observation on a blank sheet of paper, right? But this is a great place to start in order to really get a good foundation of seeing how the lines need to extend in different directions. Best of luck. If you have any questions, make sure that you're asking. Can't wait to see what you're able to put together. Have a great day. Bye.